What's up, y'all? Welcome to my man cave. Listen, I just wanted to tell you guys a story that I actually have never told fully publicly. So I want you to pay close attention because it's going to help you because I'm sure there are plenty of things that I am about to say that you can actually relate to. So I'm Sheldon Harris. I own my own business as an entrepreneur, but I'm also a full time pastor. But let me tell you how I got to the place that I got to, because that will explain the reason why you even found this video. I got saved and rededicated my life in 2008. And in 2009, I felt the call of God on my life to preach the gospel. And so I began leading in young adult ministry, but I was so terrified to even talk to anybody. I didn't do presentations in school. I was a class clown, but mainly it was because I was insecure. And the only way I felt accepted is to make people laugh. I found that out later in my life through the Lord revealing things to me and me going through the necessary healing that I needed to go through. But I've always had the mindset, even as a young kid, to create things. So my grandfather was always inventing things, and I was always bouncing ideas off my grandfather about inventing things. And I think that's so awesome because as a Christian, we have been created to create. Our creator created everything and he created us in his own image. And so we have the ability to create. That's what we've been created for. And so I continue to do ministry, and I've always had a desire to be a police officer. And finally, I became a police officer. And while I was a police officer, I was thinking about things that I can invent and ideas, and my mind never turned off. But when I became a police officer and I was a pastor at the same time, I was making six figures, and that was the most money I've ever made before. So I was able to get our family a house. I was able to get a nice fast car, a sports car, slash muscle car. We were living comfortably. But then God told us in 2019, it's time for you to go to Tampa and take your family there and leave everything that you have behind you. And so it was a very tough thing to do because law enforcement was my dream job. And I've only been there for a little over 5 years, and I've developed family friends there. I had a partner there for years. We rode together every day. And so leaving that was very difficult. We had a church family that we've known for years since 2008, and now 2019. God is telling us to leave. And it took a series of events to get us to a place to even have the kind of faith that we needed to make that move. And so we made that move. And now we're in Florida and we don't have a job. I'm not a police officer. I'm no longer at the church that I was pastoring at. And we're on this island where we know not one person. And it's almost like God presented an opportunity to us in a hard season. He presented an opportunity in a hard season to us that gave us the opportunity to be creative. You know, when you're working your 9 to 5 and you're making enough money to be comfortable and still have a little money left over to spend and play with at a minimum level, you're not really thinking about ways to make money. You're not really thinking about being creative. But I remember coming to Florida and it was like we were in the desert. It's like, God, we're in Florida now. I don't have a job. My wife doesn't have a job. We don't have a choice but to start a business. And so my wife was already working on some credit repair stuff. And then I jumped in and partnered with her on it. And we turned that business into almost six figures. And we kept doing that for a few years. And then I started thinking, well, my wife actually helped me to think about coaching because I was always on the phone. I'm always on the phone coaching people, helping people scale their business, and really just doing it out of the kindness of my heart. And then my wife came to me one day and she goes, Sheldon, why don't you do this and get paid for it? And to be honest with you, I thought there's no way that anybody is going to pay me to coach. And I started really dealing with even more insecurities, just trying to figure out how that would even be a possibility until I remembered back in like 2012, the Lord told me to leave my job. I was working at Huntington Bank in the corporate building at that time. I was making a decent amount of money and I was the only source of income. And I'll never forget when the Lord told me to leave. I put my 2 weeks notice in, and on my last day, I took all the stuff out of my cubicle and I walked outside to finish the day to go to my car. And when I walked outside to go to my car, it was a beautiful day. It was sunny, there was white clouds in the sky, bright blue sky, beautiful day. And I turned around and I looked at the building one last time before I left. And it was almost as if I could see through the building. And I saw there was people working on their cubicles at their desk. And the Lord says, son, there's many dreams in this building that will die. Many dreams will die in their cubicle. And he said, don't die in your cubicle. And I'll never forget that moment. And then it was like he started to bring me to Peter walking on water. And he told me, he said, everybody talks about Peter walking on water, but nobody talks about the one who stayed on the boat. He said, Sheldon, I want you to go get them off of the boat. And I had no clue that 7, 8 years later, I would be in a place where I would be thinking about the question that Lindsay asked me, why don't you coach and get paid for it? So what I did was, because of that burden in me to see people that are stuck on the boat when God called us to walk in faith, I put together a course called Come Forth. And I wanted to help people develop the mindset that they need to step off of the boat, to step out of mediocrity, to step out of a God made system and onto something that God made, something that God had created, and so that they can walk on water and live by faith so that God could be pleased. And I'll never forget, I started talking to people about the vision I had for this course called Come Forth. And I was explaining them all the modules. And then I explained to them what the objective was and what results it would bring to the people. And I began to try to develop some proof of concept. And after talking to many people, I found out that the course was actually worth more than what I thought. I was thinking in my insecurities that the course would only be $50. And I was told differently by other people who were coaches, other people who have experienced coaching, other people who have been a part of carrying a testimony from the call on my life. And so I ended up selling this course as a high ticket. And within my first course, I made $22,000. I could not believe that people were just desiring mental freedom so that they can step out into what God called them to. But I could not believe that I made that much money doing a course. And then I just did it again and I did it again. But I began to start getting burned out because my system wasn't set up how it needed to be set up. And so I started to get coaching. I started to get more coaching and more coaching and more studying and more understanding of things. And I started to realize that my heart's desire was not just to coach people out of the boat, but to help other businesses get out of the situation that they're in or come out of stagnation and how to scale their business. And so I started Apex Coaching. And I started out by creating a community, a free community where I am literally dropping loads of information to help people get unstuck. And there's so much more to come that I'm still building. But if you want to be a part of a community of people who are coaches who want to scale their business, or people who are desiring to be coaches, you need to click the link in the description, because I have a free community called Apex Community where I'm helping you, people like you who are coming across this video and they're saying, I feel stuck. I feel like I know that there's a next level, but I just can't get to the next level. I want to help you for free. And I want you to join the community so that I can help increase your faith and get you out of the boat that you have been in. So in this community, you're going to learn a lot about mindsets. You're going to learn about scaling your MRR, your monthly recurring revenue. You're going to learn about the platform that I use that you can use to make money. You're going to learn about your niche. And I've learned through coaching a lot of people that a lot of the reason why they find themselves stagnant or they can't get to the next level is really as simple as they have not narrowed down their niche. They have not specified their niche. And if you don't know your audience, you'll never be successful, because if you're trying to reach everyone, you'll reach no one. And so all of this information is going to be provided and more within our community of like-minded individuals who know that God has called them to create wealth, and you have a gift on the inside of you. You just don't know how to get out of the place called unstuck, or you don't know how to get out of the place called stuck. You don't know how to get out of the boat. Listen, I know what it's like. I've failed many times, but I've also learned that the more you can fail, the faster you can get to success, because failure is the step that you need to get to the next level. And a lot of time people think that if I don't try, then I can't fail, not realizing that not trying is actually failing in itself. When you try and you take a step out, you fail and take a step up on that failure. And every failure that you have made is an opportunity for you to learn so that you can step up to another level of success. I teach my students that if you're not making mistakes, it's probably because you're not doing enough. So I went from a place of working a 9 to 5 as a police officer, living my passion as a pastor. I still am a pastor here in Tampa and planted a whole church called Kairos. But I've done so many things in my life that have led me up to this point of walking in faith and entrepreneurship. I realized that working a 9 to 5 was not fulfilling to me because it was just a man made box, a man made system where I would work for years and years and years until I retire. And then my retirement would still be paycheck to paycheck. I wouldn't be able to support my children. I wouldn't be able to be there for my grandchildren the way that I wanted to be, because I was stuck in that 9 to 5 mentality, because it seems so comfortable to just know that something is the exact same amount is coming in every single 2 weeks. And I get that. I get that comfortability. But for those of you who are thinking about entrepreneurship and you're ready to break out of that 9 to 5, and you're ready to get involved in something and get connected to a community of people who are looking to make 10,000 plus dollars a month so that they can leave an inheritance for their children, so that they can set their family up, then you're in the right place. And I'm going to give that to you for free when you click the link and join the community. And if you're already in the community, I just want you to know that you are one step away from true advancement. You are one step away from your apex. It's just going to take consistency, and it's going to take you realizing that everything that you've been through in your life was a setup to the moment that you are in now. There is no lost time. Learn from your mistakes and keep on going, because each and every one of you have a journey. But I want you to think about this. How did you get to where you're at? What have you learned from all the mistakes that you have made? What have you learned from your failures? What in your life can you teach somebody else so they don't have to go through the same trouble that you went through? What if I told you that if you go back and you dissect your journey, there is probably 1 to 3 things in your journey that you can actually turn into monetization? What if I told you that there is actually money to be made just from your story, the things that you've been through, the things that you failed at, the things that you have tried over and over again, and you finally found success in that thing? What if I told you that there was somebody else out there who knows exactly who you can now relate to, that you can help out of? Really, that's all that I'm doing. I know what it's like to be stuck in business by just relying on organic marketing. I know what that's like to have a system that is just burning you out. I know what it's like to feel like you keep hitting a wall. And now that I've broke through that, I want to help somebody else get out of that very same thing so that you can begin to start making an impact in your family. You can start making an impact in your community. That's my heart as a kingdom wealth builder. My heart is to sow into the community. My heart is to create employment opportunities. My heart is to begin to build things in the city that is going to benefit people so that God can be pleased. That is my why. What is your why? Before we go on, before you watch any more videos, you need to know what your why is, because your why matters. Your why is your anchor to your future, because there's going to be times where you want to quit. It's not a matter of if you want to quit, but when you want to quit, because that time will come. But your why will be the anchor as to why you won't quit. I won't quit because XYZ. Why do you do what you do? Find your why and utilize everything that you've learned along the journey to help you go forward. Because for me, my whole life has changed because I didn't allow myself to stay in the boat. And now I can be a blessing to my family as well as others. And you can do the same thing. Just remember this, that the only way to please God is by faith. And you're not going to go anywhere if you keep staying in that boat. I'm telling you, there's so much that is on the inside of you. And I had to learn the same thing. Before I ever even launched my very first course, I literally stood in my living room. I made a graphic, and on the graphic, it said big announcement. And I made this graphic and I was going to post it, but I was so scared because I was afraid of failure. I thought, what if nobody buys the course? I thought, what if nobody wants to pay to listen to me talk? What if nobody thinks that I have any value that I can bring? I am literally putting myself out there for the chance to be overlooked, for the chance to be dismissed, for the chance to be rejected. And I'll never forget, I held my phone up with that graphic and I prayed to God with tears rolling down my cheek. And I said, God, if this is what you have called me to do, then I'll do it, but I'm scared. And listen, y'all, I did it anyway. And me doing that anyway, even though it was scary, even though it was terrifying, even though I had no clue what I was doing years back, it was life changing. And now I know way more than what I knew before. And I made so many mistakes. Listen, y'all, even on this video, I've made mistakes. Even on this video, I slipped over a few of my words. And I'm not even going to go back and edit everything out, because I want you to understand through your journey that it is not about being perfect. Because you thinking everything has to be perfect is probably the main reason why you've not taken that step, because you're afraid to fail. You think everything has to be perfect, and you struggling with perfectionism has put you into a paralysis. And that's why you won't start. That's why all of your ideas are in your head. All of your ideas are in your laptop. All of your ideas are on paper. And you, for years, have talked about the things that God has called you to, but you've never done them because you're afraid of failure and you're afraid of not being perfect. Well, let me just break it to you right now. You were born imperfect and you'll die imperfect. So there's no point in holding on to the things that God put on the inside of you. You just need to start. You just need to start. If you don't believe anybody, believe me, because I know what it's like to fail. I know what it's like to be afraid, but I also know that when you do it afraid, you'll learn so much, and it'll lead you to moments after moment after moment, victory after victory after victory, and you'll have actually more to give because of your failures. You don't learn from your victories, you learn from your failures. So there's so much more. Click the link if you haven't already. If I'm talking to you because you're in the court, I pray that my journey bless you so that you can relate to the things that I've been through, because most likely you've been through the same thing. So if you've not started a business, but you know that there's a business on the inside of you, or you already have a business, but you don't know why you're stagnant, keep watching the videos that are in these next modules and be blessed. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Peace.